Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Parish of Plymouth. My name is Cheryl Caton, and I am the worship associate today. My pronouns are she and hers. Whoever you are, whoever you love, and wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. Come walk with us this hour.
I think I'm next.
Oh no, I have to do the welcome. We light this flame to ignite our hearts and minds and speak of knowledge that enlightens, in shimmering hope that burns, the blazing love that engulfs our actions, the bonfire of our commitment. We light this flame for those who celebrate themselves, who fear, who hope, who persevere, who stand on the side of love for all. We light this flame for those who have been ridiculed, that they may find peace, for those who have fought to marry, that they may celebrate, for those who live in uncertainty in the world, that they may have hope. We light this flame to renew our commitment that no one shall ever again suffer for the right to love. We light this flame to celebrate our kaleidoscope of diversity, working, loving, and living on the side of love. With this, we light this flame.
I am playing the prelude. This is a set of variations on Be Thou My Vision.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Arthur Lavoie. My pronouns are he, him, and his. In Unitarian Universalist congregations, we light the flame within a chalice to begin our services. The chalice is an open vessel, a symbol of what holds us in life, also a symbol of the openness of mind and heart that we aspire to. And the flame is the light that inspires us and that we take with us as we go out into the world. So I invite people now to read the chalice lighting words that will shortly appear on the screen. And there we are. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you now to join in singing There's a River Flowing in My Soul. You will hear Sandy singing and playing, and I believe we will all be muted, but you can sing in your home.
Good morning, everyone. It is such a joy to see all of your faces. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me I'm somebody. 'Cause there's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. Oh, there's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. Oh, there's a river flowing in my mind.
Today's reading is excerpts from the essay, The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action, in Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. I have come to believe over and over again what is most important to me must be spoken, to be made verbal and shared. To be made verbal and shared. even at the risk of having it bruised and misunderstood. In becoming forcibly essentially aware of my mortality and of what I wished and wanted for in life, however short it might be, priorities and omissions became strongly etched in a merciless light, and what I most regretted were my silences. I was going to die, if not sooner than later, whether or not I had ever spoken myself. My silences had not protected me, and your silence will not protect you. But for every real word spoken, for every attempt I had ever made to speak those truths for which I am still seeking, I had made contact with others, while we examined the words to fit in a world in which we all believed bridging our differences. What are the words that you do not yet have? What do you need to say? What are the tyrannies you swallow day by day in an attempt to make you your own until you will sicken and die of them, still in silence? And of course, I am afraid because of the transformation of silence into language and action into self revelation, and that always seems to be fraught with danger. In the course of silence, each of us draws the face of her own fear of contempt, of censure, of some judgment, of recognition, of challenge, of annihilation. We can sit in our corners mute forever while our sisters and ourselves are wasted, while our children are distorted and destroyed, while our earth is poisoned. We can sit safe in our corners as mute as bottles, and we will be no less afraid.
There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. We all need to feel validated and valued, like we're somebody whose life matters. We all need affirmation when we're young so that we can grow into self-loving rather than self-loathing adults. But many of us don't get the love and support that we need in our younger years. Many of us grow up feeling some shame about something we've said or done, or we feel shame about parts of our beings that are not acceptable to the people around us. Many are abused and our feelings taken for granted. For all of us, there is a shadow place where we hide the parts of ourselves that those we love won't accept. We sometimes even hide from ourselves and become detached from parts of our inner beings, parts of our very souls. It's ironic, isn't it? We proclaim individual liberty and freedom as one of the hallmarks of our society, yet we impose artificial rules on each other about what we can do, how we're supposed to behave, and even who we're supposed to be. More than ironic, it's a tragedy that leaves us and others broken and self-hating, feeling alone, isolated, and unworthy. These feelings lead directly to mental health issues, addiction, and thoughts of suicide. The mistreatment of people in our society leads to abuse and murder of people who are different. This week, 2 trans people have been murdered, I believe in this country, one last night. And when we get to candles of joy and concern, Cheryl will share more about them. This week, we also lost a local trans man to suicide, one of Plymouth's own young people, Quinn Woodworth. Quinn was a student at UMass Amherst and had attended Plymouth Public Schools. He was a musician and a student of church members Adam and Andy, and they will share more about Quinn during Candles of Joy and Sorrow. From what I've heard, Quinn was known for his care and compassion for others. But I have to wonder if his soul had been so damaged because he was not made to feel like somebody that mattered. We may never know what are the specific issues and struggles that alienate someone from their own being, that makes any of us feel so unworthy and unwelcome that we think about or choose to take our own lives. But we do know that those feelings of hopelessness and despair have affected many, even in this congregation. And it certainly happened to me when I was in college and struggling to understand and affirm my sexuality. But today, as we honor Trans Day of Visibility, which is March 30th, we know that those in the 31st, we know that those in the trans community have experienced much more emotional and psychological damage than most of the rest of us. There is so much violence and misunderstanding perpetrated against trans folk that it is no wonder that 39% of those responding to a national survey reported serious psychological stress just in the week before or in the month before completing the survey. It is no wonder that the rate of attempted suicide for trans folk is nearly 12 times the national average. In his book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, Francis Weller writes, "It is important to look into the shadows of our lives and see who lives there. Tattered, withered, hungry, and alone. Bringing these parts of soul back to the table is a central element of our work. Ending their exile means releasing the contempt we hold for these parts of who we are. It means welcoming the full range of our being and restoring our wholeness. Until then, we will continue to carry a feeling of worthlessness and brokenness." Many of us live in some form of silence, hide parts of ourselves in the shadows. It might be a sexual or gender identity, perhaps a medical condition. It might be a difficult and painful history of abuse. But once any of us takes that first step towards self-acceptance and self-love, we will always find support and find companions for the journey. Life becomes so much more rich and rewarding once we begin to move out of the shadows and share the truth of our stories and our lives. The pain and struggle that I experienced in my life has taught me compassion and the desire to listen deeply to the stories and truths that each of us has to share. I've dedicated much of my life to helping others not have to live in the pain of those shadows, in the debilitating and dehumanizing silence. Today, there's much more acceptance of lesbians, gay men, and people who identify as bisexual than there was when I was growing up. But those who are transgender, or non-binary, or genderqueer, or gender fluid are among the people today who are most despised, misunderstood, and feared. It is time to honor their stories of struggle and triumph. Let us offer our love and support as they make their journeys toward openness, healing, and self-acceptance. I know that these issues make some of us uncomfortable and uncertain. Many of us have carried an understanding of gender and gender roles that have been very clearly defined for us. It is never up to people in the trans community or any other community for that matter to make us comfortable. It is up to us to examine our own prejudices and misperceptions. It is up to us to ask each person for their story and listen to the truth of their souls. Our universalist heritage teaches us that none of us are safe or whole or loved or accepted unless all of us are. For only then will we really know who we are, where we have been, and what are our dreams. It is especially important that we teach ourselves and our children that they live in a world of hope and possibility, that they need not live in fear, that violence is not an answer, that we will love them no matter what, that we will honor them and the choices they make, and that we will listen to their stories. For only then will we, as a people, truly offer each other the feelings of worth and dignity that are essential for our well-being, for our very survival. It's important that each of us knows that we are somebody. Our lives and the lives of our children depend on it. Amen, and blessed be.
Hi, Scott White and myself are going to be playing the Shaker hymn, Simple Gifts, after we tune for just a second.
Hi, again. My name is Cheryl Caton. I am proud and excited about the distance that I have traveled. I'm also scared to death, occasionally suicidal, and unsure of every step. Being 51 and fairly established, yet I carry around that amount of uncertainty. It's embarrassing. I feel I should have my stuff together right now. Don't get me wrong. I love being me, and I love the trans community. I love my job. I deeply love my family, and I love each of you. Yet each day I wake up and second guess all my decisions. I look backward at the wonderful life that I've led to this point. I gather all those memories, and I wonder if I could just keep things the way they are. I remember an ongoing conversation I had with my kindergarten teacher. Most days, I would compliment her on her dress. I still remember my favorite. Or I'd comment on her hair or her jewelry. I'm sure that at that young age, it seemed cute and nothing more. And one day, I realized that my behavior was unusual for a 5-year-old boy. When she responded to my daily comment by saying, I thought of you when I chose to wear this dress today. I know it's your favorite. You mention it every time. I remember being both excited and very embarrassed by her observation. I stopped complimenting her after that. My first incident of wanting to express myself as Cheryl actually came during first grade. I went to Catholic school from first grade through 12th, white shirts and neckties for the boys, and plaid jumpers or skirts for the girls. In first grade, my teacher, Sister Barbara, reprimanded all the boys, saying we were unkempt, our neckties were crooked, and our socks were too slouchy. I forgot to tell Mom about it after school, and in the morning I suddenly remembered. In my memory, Sister Barbara commented that she told the boys to remedy the problem, we'd have to start wearing tights like the girls underneath our slacks. I woke up convinced that I had to wear tights. My mom went from amused to angry because I would not let go of the idea of wearing tights. Her frustration grew as she could not convince me that I must have misunderstood. It never occurred to either of us that it was just a dream. My mom assumed that Sister Barbara had told us to pull up our socks, and I misunderstood. Of course, Mom didn't let me wear my sister's tights to school, and imagine my surprise when I dejectedly told the other boys my mom wouldn't let me wear tights. They, of course, thought that was the weirdest thing to say, and from that moment forward, my stature of a boy was always suspect. A friend of mine describes gender dysphoria as a computer app that constantly runs in the back of your mind, draining a little bit of your daily energy. And like a computer, the main functions of your mind work around this persistent background app. Then, at times, the app is activated and immediately starts running. When it is actively running, it causes all the rest of the apps to run slow or to shut down completely. I'll try to describe how it happens. When we face any situation, we have lots of options. Do I pick it up or put it down? Do I eat dessert or do I skip it? Do I stay in bed and snooze or do I get going? For the situation, each situation, we see a number of options, 2, 3, or 4, or more options, and each of those options creates a little bit of stress. Too many options, it makes it tougher and tougher to make a decision. Having dysphoria, that little background app, is doubling the amount of possible decisions or internal conflict with every choice. How would I respond if I were female? Would the situation be different? Can I say or do what I really want without outing myself? As trans folks, our foreground apps typically override these additional questions, and we find a way to manage that second set of questions. But the only way to eliminate those questions is to present how the trans person feels. For me, that means presenting as Cheryl. There's no background app running right now. My friends who have transitioned describe their mind as being silent. With the dysphoria gone and the second set of options and overriding decisions and all that mental gymnastics gone, it creates a perpetual mental peace. When I was about 11, I inwardly referred to myself as Charlene. I took that name from Janet Jackson's recurring character on the sitcom Different Strokes. I know. I secretly used that name because it was the female version of Charles. I renamed myself Cheryl in 10th grade. The process of creating a name for yourself is a wonderful sign of identity. My dad left my family when I was 6. I didn't see him much after that, just a few times a year. I realized he was gay when I was about 14. He died of AIDS when I was about 17. We never discussed his sexuality or my gender identity. Everyone in the family knew about him, and plenty of folks knew about me. But in my strict Catholic family, those truths were seen as sins and forced to be invisible. Not talking to my dad about our LGBT community and similar experience is one of my few regrets in life. During middle and high school, I used to spend days at the public library looking for information about the trans experience. There were a few stories, Renee Richards' biography, and a few about Christine Jurgensen, but that was about it. I read their biographies a dozen times each without ever daring to check the book out at the library. I'd often go to the sociology or the psychology section and pull out a book, flip to the glossary, and see if there were any mentions of transgender, transsexual, or any other related term. I would be overjoyed to find a word once in a while. I'd find the page and read the paragraph. Then I'd put the book back on the shelf and immediately pull out the next book in the section. I would repeat this process all afternoon, for every afternoon, hundreds and even thousands of books, reading one paragraph at a time. Sometimes I'd write a note in a piece of loose leaf paper and place it between the pages of the books. The note would say things like, I am transgender. I'd like to meet other trans people. I come to this library most Tuesday afternoons. Leave a note on this page if you are transgender and want to meet. Nothing ever came of my pre-internet effort to find community. Obviously, I found my way. I had the courage to start coming out to friends when I was 16. I came out to two close guy friends one night at summer camp. They were supportive. Of course, they were 16 too, and they did not spend Tuesday afternoons in the public library trying to research transgender. So they had no idea what I was talking about. I slowly came out to a few more folks until I went to college. And college really helped me pick up the pace, and I came out to dozens of people each semester. I'd even present as Cheryl fairly regularly. One of those friends would need to leave campus or go to town for a reason, and I'd ask if they wouldn't mind if I'd present as Cheryl. They never really did, and so I'd often go to the grocery store or get a pizza or go to the mall or some other mundane task as Cheryl myself during college. It was great. I was overjoyed whenever a store clerk would address me as Miss. Of course, one time, some guys who only knew me as Chuck stopped me on campus to say that they saw me the weekend before. They mentioned they saw me off campus and laughingly described my outfit. My pulse quickened and I braced myself for my life to be ruined on the spot. It wasn't. And in the immediate aftermath of that interaction, I realized just how critical it is to come out and have allies. In my early 20s, I would present as Cheryl, and I would drive about 5 or 6 towns away and shop for clothes or makeup. I had a, I had a staff member in a J.C. Penney's tell me one time she received a complaint from another customer, and I'd have to try on those dresses and skirts in the men's dressing room. I had a group of guys follow me out of Kmart, yelling slurs and attempting to draw attention to me as I casually fled the premises. All those instances pale in comparison to the struggles of my trans brothers, my trans sisters, and my siblings. I've had it easy. When we experience these types of fearful moments over and over again, we essentially have two options. We lose hope, as so many do, or we can be visible. The lose hope option is the suicide option, caused by persistent dysphoria and the realization that the cure for the dysphoria is full of ridicule, humiliation, and a fearful life. The lose hope option is a constant issue with trans people. When a trans person admits that they have suicidal feelings or thoughts, it's almost like a chef saying they like food, or an accountant saying they like numbers, or a musician saying they like music. Those two things, being trans and those suicidal thoughts, are, at least for today, simply tied together. I have never tried to commit suicide, but it is with me every day. Today, we celebrate the second option, be visible. Our journey and our struggle is real. How or why is a situation for some future scientist to resolve. To deal with it is mine. My journey and its struggles cause me great self-doubt each day. And don't get me wrong, I love being me, but I would not inflict my greatest enemy with this struggle. Allies provide trans people with dignity. When trans people overcome all our obstacles and we come out, when we display that courage and the person receiving the news treats us humanely, our journey is validated. Our humanity is validated. That's why it's so important for those of us who can be visible to do so. Before I close, I just want to recognize my greatest ally, Jen. She is my greatest ally, my friend, and my partner. I want to give a little round of applause for allies in general. I learned so much about myself from her patient and caring support, more than I could ever express. I cannot imagine going through this journey without her. And I am so grateful to be part of such an accepting congregation. Since we are all at home, I think we should raise our coffee mugs and our beverage of choice and salute our allies and our friends, whatever our journey. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you will sing along, even though you're muted. The lyrics are about to appear on your screen. They're standing on the side of love. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love above. So every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are standing on the side of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, and molded by faith, we dare to proclaim we are standing on the side of love. Sometimes you gotta you to keep the faith in love. Corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are standing on the side of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are standing on the side of love. The brave day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are standing on the side of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are standing on the side of love. We are standing on the side of love.
Our benediction this morning was written by Nita Pennifold. No matter what they tell you, let it be about joy. Let it be about the sacred. Self-surviving, no, thriving, shining its way to the knowledge within. Let it be about blooming, the unfolding of the universe through you, because the story of you begins 15 billion years ago with that first flash of being. Amen, and blessed be.